Holly. We'll get to the fight in a second, but I think first a bit of business. It's reported that you signed a new contract ahead of this fight for 6 fights. Is that right?
Yeah, I guess after my last fight, I wasn't really sure. I was hopeful that we could still come to agreement and be able to continue my career with the UFC, and so I'm very, very happy to be able to have that contract signed. My mind, of course, is just set on this fight ahead of me, but I'm happy to continue my journey with the UFC.
Nice. I would say with 6 fights, it's fair to say that boxing is probably just off the table and we'll be focusing on MMA for the rest of the career.
I would say that's it. We kind of talked about if something like that came up, if we could ever figure something out, I don't know. But my mind's set on MMA right now.
So with that said, what are the long-term goals? Is it still title aspirations? You still want to get back up there and win a gold again?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the only thing you need to be focused on if you're in this game. If you don't want to be the champion, what are you doing here, It's a scary kind of path to really take because that means you have to take the toughest fights, the biggest fights, and you have to be successful. And that's where all that pressure kind of comes in on you. But if I'm going to be here, I want to do it all the way.
Do you ever sit and think to yourself, like, this is the path to a title, or do you try and stay focusing on one fight at a time? This is the person, I'll beat them, and then we'll look forward.
One fight at a time, for sure, is my mindset because, that's the only fight you're promised right now. Yeah. And who knows what's going to happen? Maybe there's going to be injuries. Maybe there's going to be something that's career-ending. You never know. Tomorrow's not promised. And so I try to stay just one fight. And I also think it's better for me to stay focused that way because if you win this fight, that's what opens the door to the next fight. So.
Right. So with that said, this fight, where are her strengths compared to your strengths? How do you beat her on Saturday?
Oh, she's a big 135er like me. I think she might even be an inch taller than me. She's strong. She's got a gas tank on her. I used to train with her. She trains hard. She's kind of unpredictable, She's you get in the clinch, she might kind of, surprise you with some things on her feet. She throws, bunches of punches. So there's a lot of strengths that she has. I feel that I'm going to edge out everywhere, but I'm not overlooking her at all.
When it comes to training together, I don't know if the media always try and put too much on that, but for you personally, do you sort of remember things that, oh yeah, I remember that she did that, or she has that tendency, or do you just sort of think, there's no point even thinking about that, the climate of a fight is so different than training, there's no point to compare?
I feel like she's improved a lot since I've trained with her, so I'm not putting too much on that. I do think that each fighter has their own style, and there's something about that that's what makes them the type of fighter they are, and there'll be certain things that they always have tendencies for, good and bad. So yeah, we take a little bit from the fact that we trained together before, and I know she's doing the same with me. She's felt, my strengths and weaknesses. But we both respect each other. There's no hard feelings. I think trust me, even when we trained, we sparred hard. So I know she's coming hard. I'm not looking past her at all.
How cool is it to see Jon Jones come back and perform in that manner?
I think there's very few people in this sport that can really make waves like that. You really can't deny that his fighting style is just something that's he's got that ability to go in there and just win. He's a very, very talented fighter. So any kind of sport I look at, even something like, I'm not even a Buccaneer fan or a Patriot fan, but I'm still a fan of Tom Brady because he goes in there and he likes to win. And you're not going to see another quarterback with 7 Super Bowls anytime soon, right? And I think that's kind of a similar, just feeling any kind of sport. LeBron James just, passing records, and then there's this debate of who's the greatest. But despite of who's the greatest and all that, there's times in careers where there's a champion that stands out and there's greatness that stands out. So I think anybody can look at Jon's career and admire that he gets in there and he knows how to win.
Holly, by signing a 6-fight deal with the UFC, do you plan on fighting all 6 fights, or what do you envision for your career?
I just take one fight at a time. I'm glad to have the 6 fights there. In my mind, I want to stay young forever and fight forever, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So, and I'm not trying to like push you into retirement or anything, but like, have you thought about that? What it would look like, and more or less what you have in mind for it?
I think, my last few years have been pretty slow pace of fights, and that due to being health and injuries and things like that. So of course that's going to be something that's, that's like those demons you fight in your own mind. Those negative thoughts of, man, is this really it? Is it going to be, how many more can my body really take? And then you get through it, and then you feel healthy, and everything. Right now I'm perfectly healthy, and a lot of the things that I was having problems for, even leading up to my last fight, are fixed now, and I feel a lot better. So it's, I just had to change my mindset. I went 10 years of boxing and then 10 years of MMA, and a lot of people were wondering if I should retire when I even started MMA, and I'm sure glad I didn't listen to everyone else, because I had a whole career in MMA that's, I can't even explain how amazing it is, and how blessed I feel to have this journey. So I just got to, look in myself, and I know I'm still capable, and I know I still want to fight, and I know I'm still passionate, and so I'm just going to keep going forward.
Yeah. Within this 6-fight deal, are you just going to take it like fight by fight basis and see how you go, or are you like set out to make like another title run and become champion once again?
I take fight by fight, but with the title run being my goal. I feel going for the gold is always any fighter's. That should be 100% on every fighter's mind. I don't want to just be there to kind of participate and be, in the shadows of the big championship fights. I want to be the champion. Yeah.
And within this 6-fight deal, does that mean like in the boxing world you are retired? Like, have we seen the last of you in boxing?
I don't know.
Wait and see.
Yeah. Every year's a new year.
We have seen some UFC fighters like box, be allowed to box. Is that something you've even?
I guess you never know. I guess if that bridge comes, we can talk and see what happens. Just see. There have been times where the promotions have crossed, so I'm not going to say that it's impossible. But right now, my focus is on MMA. But that doesn't mean that there may not be, something else out there.
Yeah.
So.
By the way, Boxing Hall of Fame, that's pretty nice. Your reaction to being inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame?
Just really humbled and honored to be able to be considered amongst the greatest of, all the male and female. It's not just like a female Boxing Hall of Fame. This is the Hall of Fame of boxing. And to be considered with the greats that you looked up to and that you admired, and these household names is, it's very surreal and really different too, because I'm still fighting. I don't really know a lot of fighters that are still fighting that have been inducted, but they're still fighting. So sometimes I always have to like make sure that my mindset's still on achieving, not like, oh, that was awesome, I achieved this. Like, I'm still trying to work for something new, something one more. But it also gives me motivation. I mean, now I'm still being able to fight in MMA. It'd be awesome if I could be in the Hall of Fame, on this sport too, and be the first to ever do that.
Yeah, for sure. And last question, we saw Amanda Nunes is still a champion, but a year ago, 2 years ago, she lost to Juliana Peña. A lot of people didn't see that coming. I was wondering, do you think that was just kind of like a fluke, a flash in the pan, or did you see something in that fight that makes you think, okay, maybe there's something new that's exposed or something?
There's very few fights that I think are flukes. Very few. There are some that it's like, man, I've even seen some heavyweights that are just, one gets knocked down, the other one gets knocked down, and then it could be, the next punch could be it, right? I think that it wasn't a fluke that Peña won. I think maybe Nunes didn't expect a few things that caught her off guard, and to me that's not a fluke. But I do think Amanda was the better fighter, and she came back, and if you watch her second performance, she actually changed game plan. She stood lefty, took away some of the things that was a threat from Peña. So to me it wasn't a fluke, but Peña's a scrapper, and as much as she won with a submission, I mean, if anybody watched that fight, it started with jabs, and it had Nunes rocked. And that's just kind of a factual thing. I'm not favoring one or the other fighter at all. And I think the second fight, Nunez turning to a Southie took away some of those kind of the angles that Pena had. So I don't think it was a fluke that Pena won. I think that she won fair and square. I think she caught Nunez off guard. Nunez may have, who knows what's going on? We don't know what's going on inside or outside of the with any fight. So, but maybe Nunez was worried about Pena's scrambles, because that's what everybody worries about with Pena is her scrambles. She's scrappy, she'll get you in the clinch, and she'll get tied up with you, and you get in scrambles. And maybe she was focused on that, not expecting these jabs to come through and catch her off guard. So to me, I don't think it's a fluke, but I definitely think that maybe she caught Nunez off guard, and Nunez adjusted, came back, and did what she needed to do.
Thank you.
Holly, kind of piggybacking on what was already said, you're not necessarily thinking about retirement or anything, but is there anything you believe you have left to prove come Saturday night?
I feel like I want to prove that I'm still getting better and not on the decline, but I'm still on my way up. I think that's where I'm at, for not just for everybody else, for myself as well. I've had a lot of humps in the road that easily could have set me back, and just been like, it's easier to accept that and retire. So my goal is to come in and show that I'm still a threat, and that I'm still a threat, and that I'm still, somebody to fear. And like I said, not just for everyone else, but for myself, I want to go in there and I want to show these girls that I'm still very capable and ready to rock and roll.
Thank you.
Hi, Holly. Texas is known for its interesting judging. Does knowing that push you to get the finish on Saturday?
I want to get a victory, whatever I have to do. I just want to do whatever I need to do, and I definitely want to make it clear, but I don't want to get so anxious that I run into something, stupid. I want to stay focused, but I definitely want to make a point and make a statement.
And a few weeks ago, was this fight, or before Sandhagen and Vera was announced, were you thinking that this fight was going to be the main event, or was there any discussions of you headlining UFC San Antonio?
When they first announced, the fight with Yana and I, they didn't really say if it was, who was the main event. And I thought it could be possible. You never know. And I kind of just keep training no matter what. I don't like to really take too much time off in between fights anyway. I figured 3 or 5 rounds. Her and I both have gone both. She's gone 5 rounds plenty. I know that she's going to be ready regardless. So I figured whatever it is. And then when they announced who the main event was, I was like, oh, I'm excited to fight with those guys. That's going to be an entertaining fight.
Is there any sparring partners that you'd like to shout out from your last fight camp?
Gosh, my whole girls team is really great. I work a lot with them on certain days, and my other days are, I kind of mix it up with the guys as well. And some of the guys that have had their fights coming up that still come in to help drill with me and spar with me. Steve Garcia, he's got a fight coming up in April. Chris Brown, had a fight with PFL, but they pulled it. And I really could go through the whole team, and even drilling with Michelle Watterson. She's got speed and movement. Not that she's one of my main sparring partners, but there's just our girls' team's actually they're really great, and the guys work with me really well too. They don't take it too easy, but obviously they're not out there trying to hurt me either. So I'm really thankful for my whole team. Like I said, I could probably keep going through a whole list.
Awesome, thank you.
You kind of laid out an interesting dynamic of, still, obviously being inducted into the Hall of Fame, but still trying to get better, still working on things. Are there specific parts of your game that you see that you would want to improve on, that you see taking you to that next level?
I'm still trying to get a better jab, It's like, doesn't matter how many years I've been doing it, I still feel like it could be better, it could be faster, it could be cleaner, it could be, more utilized. So, I kind of take that with everything. I want to learn more, and I want to, keep speed, but I want to add power, and I want to, add diversity to where I'm not always throwing the same combos or the same look. So I'm constantly trying to better myself all the time.
And then, obviously, Sandhagen and Vera, the co-main event. But, obviously, I think a lot of people are still coming out to see you and see you fight. What is that like, knowing that here in San Antonio we don't get a lot of UFC fights? Is there something you want to show on Saturday night?
I've had good fights in Texas so far. I haven't fought since in LFA, but I've got a couple knockouts here. So my plan is to get a good win again. I'm not saying I'm searching for a knockout because I want to be prepared for 3 rounds of war just in case. But I've always had a good homecoming here in Texas, and this is right across the border for me from New Mexico. So
I was just about to ask anything to say to people from 505 maybe tuning in watching.
Man, New Mexico is definitely hands down the best fans of any state around. We have fighters in our state that are just. Our state is a fighting state, absolutely, and our fans they're solid. They're good, loyal fans, and couldn't be here without them.